You're watching the Eternal Tournament Series.
Hello and welcome to round 3 of week 6 of the Eternal Tournament Series. I am Truedawn and I'm joined by my co-caster Sir Rhino.
Hello, hello.
And we have a pretty cool matchup here between IlyaK on Cambrai Red and Lv13David on Nyctotraxion.
Yeah, the big dragon herself is making a tournament appearance. I'm stoked about this one.
Yeah, this deck is super sweet. There's a lot of ways to build it because you have access to all 5 colors. Generally need to base yourself in 3, and it looks like actually David's kind of just like all over the place here, but usually you would base it in like Justice Primal Time or something to make the mana reasonable. But David's just doing whatever he wants. It's cool. It's awesome.
No, David's just bringing it with this one. I love it. David is, for anybody that played back in closed beta, you'll recognize this name as one of the premier brewers. Maybe not always putting out the best tournament results, but always bringing just the coolest lists. And this one gets to do what I've always wanted to do, and that's combine Rise to the Challenge with Withering Witch and Black Sky Harbinger.
Yes, that is the wombo combo. He only has to run one witch. There's no crowd of possibilities here, which is sad for me. I get why people don't play it. But I do. It's awesome. Because you're recurring Nyctotraxions anyway, might as well give them keywords. But
although, yeah, he's not even opting to play a second sight or anything with Nyctos. Like, he's just getting value off Nycto and then
yeah, it's just the 2 twinning rituals are the only recursion things. So
right.
It's a more conservative build, if you can call a 5-color control deck conservative, I guess.
Yeah, I mean it's just packing so much removal though. We've got Torch, Lightning Storm, Vanquish, Harsh Rule, and then as we mentioned before, it's still got Witch and Harbinger, Feeding Time, Sword of the Sky King, hell, even an Auric Runehammer in there to go with the package. Same with Scorpion Wasp. Like, this Rise to the Challenge, anytime you cast it, you're gonna have quite a puzzle to figure out, but a lot of options at the same time.
Yeah, if his mana like pans out and he does have Seek Power and find the way to facilitate that, he's definitely gonna have access to a lot of powerful cards. And we see on the opponent's side, IlyaK is playing Cambrai Red, Akari Gold, whatever you want to call it. Just a pile of good cards in those corresponding colors, pretty much. Just a mid-range / control deck playing a bunch of powerful cards.
Yeah, we've got Cambrai splashing Rise of the Challenge, which happens to be really good with utility creatures like, Desert Marshal. And then you also have that Jack in there for spice. And Akaria just helps the Cambrai deck actually finish the game and have some reach, give it a little, just something extra there. Almost like a Flame Blast, except a large flyer that can keep swinging.
Yeah, one of the downsides I've noticed of Akaria index like this, however, is that you don't really have weapons to hit. You're just hitting creatures, which like a good percentage of the time is fine. Like, a giant creature is usually good enough. But against decks that have a bunch of removal, like, for example, David, like, a giant creature doesn't do much against a Scorpion Wasp or a Feeding Time or a Vanquish.
Yeah, it's weird. Basically, your best Akaria hits in this deck are the 1 Auric Runehammer and then the 4 Desert Marshals. Like, actually making the ambush unit very large and relevant is really good, especially against a control deck.
Yeah, I would agree that those are some of the better targets to hit. It's still a good card, like, but really Akaria derives a lot of its power from that Warcry 5 trigger and that making something be a 2-for-1 or killing your opponent through damage. Like, getting some value from that is really where Akaria shines. And this deck doesn't really do that, but their creatures are good anyway, so it doesn't need as much. It's an interesting paradigm.
Mm-hmm. And it looks like the challenge is out for this match, so we should be starting right now. Hey, there we go.
Yep, we'll move here into round 1 or game 1 of round 3.
Yeah, we're on round 3 already.
Yeah, it's been going pretty fast.
So, yes, considering the field, like, it's still all mid-range and control out there, but these rounds have been moving quick, and it looks like Ilya's keeping a no fire source hand with an Akaria in it, and David's got fixing but can't cast it. So
see, like, as weird as this is for David, I think this is actually like a great Nyctotraxion hand.
Oh man, this
because you have to find the way. Yeah, like I'm pretty sure any hand with find the way and the mana to cast find the way is viable hand for Nixatraxian decks.
Yeah, David is giddy about that seat draw there. Playing 17 seats in his deck. So that's pretty awesome. And Ilya just gonna sit here and see what happens. David deciding, hey, I'm the control deck. Am I supposed to play a unit before my opponent? What's going on here? But I think he's gonna commit with this Seraph and just see where it goes from here.
Yeah, this way he can Seraph this turn, the next turn play the Seat of Chaos, Rise the Challenge for whatever. So he actually has like proactive plays next couple turns. He's going to spin his tires or find the way.
Yeah.
And we will see IlyaK respond with an Amber Acolyte.
And David just keeps ripping power. You got to rise for a Nikto, right?
I mean, yeah, like what else are you doing? Like, why are you playing 5 colors if that's not the card you're rising for?
Like, I realize he has an incredible toolbox in this deck, though, for this rise. You've got Withering Witch, Black Sky Harbinger, Sword of the Sky King, Scorpion Wasp, Warwick, Runehammer. I mean, this is an amazing deck to cast Rise to the Challenge. It even has some Desert Marshals and then a recurring Nightmare in the sideboard.
Yeah, but when you rise for Nixatraxian, you're also rising for anything. Like you can just get anything, even a boat, like whatever.
I have yet to get a boat off Nikto, but I believe you.
Yeah, you can.
You have more experience than
box.
I do with it.
So we will see the Rise of Challenge here. We'll see if he gets Withering Witch, Nixatraxian, Mystic Ascendant. There's like just a huge swath of options here.
I mean, you've already got a Harbinger, so you could just get the Witch Harbinger combo, but I think you're happy just having the Feeding Time and Harbinger already. And it's looking at that Nikto. Does he take her?
He does have the mana. I mean, it's going to come in depleted. It's actually very awkward to cast it on turn 7 because all 3 of those sources come in depleted, and like no matter how you kind of funge it, unless he draws another sigil. So maybe he wants to do something cheaper, but
goes with the Ascendant here.
So the Ascendant doesn't care about the depleted source on turn 7, so it makes sense.
Mm-hmm. And Ilya ripping a hammer off the top here. Very cleanly take out that Seraph. But David draws the torch, but also has a Black Sky Harbinger if he doesn't mind taking another hit. So we'll see what he decides to do here. And I'd be pretty surprised if they use Torch here. I realize Torch is low impact overall against Combrei, but when you already have an answer to this hammer, I don't think you mind taking.
Yeah, paying for life to keep the torch in your hand essentially seems reasonable to me. The Combrei red deck doesn't put a huge amount of pressure on your opponent's life total. They don't have a lot of reach, just really whatever the creatures they happen to have in play, that's the damage you're taking. So as long as David can play around that, measure things, he should be able to be a little bit liberal with his life total here.
The deck does have more reach than traditional Combrei just because it does have Torch and Ikaria, as we see in Ilya's hand. So there is some risk, but I think with the Harbinger in hand, it's fine. It's just now it's a little awkward playing a Harbinger on this board against the Sandstorm Titan. Maybe you Feeding Time and Torch here instead.
Actually, Argenport Soldier isn't the worst draw. He could like play it and like Feeding Time this turn, and the Argenport could cold the hammer and don't have the Sandstorm Titan anymore. So like Nixatraxian doing stuff.
Yeah, and then of course Ilya also has the torch for the soldier, but hey, then your soldier is eating a torch, I guess. So this there are a lot of options presented here for David, and it really kind of just depends on what you think your opponent has. But yeah, he just opts to gain 2 life and take out a hammer and get a unit on board. And
yeah, this certainly seems like the best play.
I'm a fan of this line because it involves casting.
And he is set up next turn to cast the Mystic Ascendant, play the depleted power, draw a card.
Ilya kept a hand with no fire sources and will have no problem casting Ikaria on turn 7 because that's how this game works.
And now, if you're David, would you cast the Nixatraxian in anticipation of a possible Ikaria? I think it like you were giving up playing the Mystic Ascendant this turn, potentially a card, but like how likely is it that IlyaK has an Ikaria, and how much do you care if he does?
Your opponent does absolutely nothing on 6. So yeah, that's certainly interesting. I mean, you can go Mystic Ascendant and get the card draw, but you're pretty good on cards here. It's not like you're banking on Mystic Ascendant for that card draw. Nikto blanks both the Titan and an Ikaria. So yeah, there's some options here again. Like David, the world is his oyster at this point as far as what he's gonna do.
I personally, like, I don't hate cutting off Ikaria. I think it's, like, Ikaria is pretty bad for you. The Warcry 5, again, isn't the biggest deal in the world, but you go to 10, they get the Warcry. Then they'll have another big creature. You only have the one feeding time. So I think I would have played Nyx Atraxian, but I don't hate Mystic Ascendant here.
Yeah, they get a Warcry, but you get a card, so it's like you're basically saying, all right, and also because Sandstorm Titan's in play, Ikaria actually can't swing into your Mystic Ascendant anyway.
Oh yeah, that's right. I forgot about the Titans.
So,
but actually, this does the same thing. Yeah, this still plays around
this
Ikaria,
essentially does the same thing. This means Ilya probably isn't going to play Ikaria here, right? Because his own Sandstorm Titan is making Ikaria lose flying, which makes Ikaria quite a bit worse.
That's what we call synergy.
Yeah, something like that. So, yeah, so he gets to basically eat the Vanquish, but gets a card out of it, and hopefully clear the way for this Nikto now. Wow, and has double torch.
Yeah, so he can kill the Sandstorm Titan if he wants to. 2 different ways. Play Nyx Atraxian. A lot of options this turn. I would think I would play Nyx Atraxian, but especially after seeing the Vanquish, it's likely that it lives, and you continue to play around Ikaria if they had it. So I think that playing the 8/8 that Colds the Universe is probably where I'd be.
Yeah, just because it's hard to really find any other clean options. Like if you're playing with Ikaria in mind here, like double torching the Sandstorm Titan still leaves you kind of cold to Ikaria because then you don't have a torch anymore to pop the Aegis if she comes down. Ilya continues to just keep drawing power and now isn't even going to play the Ikaria.
Although David can't turn the quarter yet, really. I mean, I guess now that he has the Harbinger, he can attack with the Nyx Atraxian, play the other Harbinger, threaten a double block on potential Ikarias or even the Sandstorm Titan play. So, yeah, he can start attacking.
The thing is, this block almost is a message, from David's perspective, that your opponent's sitting on maybe a Harsh Rule, and you don't play this Harbinger.
Yeah, it definitely gives you something to think about. It could also be Torch, which, as we see, is what it is, but it definitely puts Harsh Rule in David's mind.
Like, you have in your mind enough of a board state that you probably don't want to commit this Harbinger here, even though it would be nice to have it as a double block for Ikaria. If they do have the Harsh Rule, like, what are you doing then? Like, how are you untapping and playing an Argenport Soldier with some Torch backup? Like, you're just good time.
Yeah, and those was good block by IlyaK. It gave David stuff to think about. He ended up not playing the Harbinger, and now this Ikaria has a profitable attack for at least one turn.
Yeah, and Ilya's still sitting on nothing but power in hand, but if he ever draws a spell, it's probably going to be juiced up by this Ikaria. So,
and again, though, we see with David has the feeding time, which is probably going to tag this Ikaria.
Ooh, wow.
But again, like the Vanquish, so if Ikaria's Warcry 5 just hits a creature without Aegis, then the Warcry essentially didn't matter.
Yeah, so David gets to get some life gain here, has 2 Harbingers in play. The Harbinger ping means he gets to conserve these torches for whatever else he wants. And Ilya,
probably Dome,
I think, has just drawn power this entire. He wanted it at first.
And that's a good top deck.
That Nikto might just draw the concession here. You don't even have to play the Nikto. You get to play a Rebel Illuminator.
Yeah, I don't think you extend on to Harsh Rule. It's probably the only one of the only ways you lose. So I think you play these nonsense creatures and leave back the Nyx Atraxian, which we
Rebel Illuminator dying means you have 3 torches and your opponent's at 12. And there's a Seraph, and that means the game is based.
And Seraph was one of the better things to get Warcried, but
Seraph
I guess it's another Seraph.
And yeah, David's got this one, but that was a fun one. Sure, he could get lethal however he wants here.
Yep.
Could have feeding time the Seraph his opponent's.
And we see Nyx Atraxian. Like, who says just the casual deck? Like, putting a pretty strong showing up against one of the more potent decks of the format, the slow combo red deck. So
yeah, as we said, as long as Nikto can cast all of its spells, it's going to be good. The question then becomes, what about the games where it can't, right? What about the games where it didn't draw that Seed of Wisdom right there when it needed to?
Yeah.
What are these games going to look like? And that's what we have to wait and see.
Did I see a siding out? Oh, it was on IlyaK. side. Okay, I thought I saw a side out of Find the Way for David. That's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
But we will look at sideboards for both players. We'll start with the Nyctotraxian deck in the hands of level 13 David. There's 2 Permafrost, 1 Ruin, 2 Desert Marshal, 4 Sworn Stranger.
I told you, man. He just knows the tech. I mean, a 5/5 for 3. You're not bringing it in against Combray, but you're bringing it in some matchups, and they're not going to be able to deal.
Yeah, I love that. 1 Recurring Nightmare, 1 Scorpion Wasp, 2 Raid of Frogs, Black Sky Harbinger, and a Mystic Ascendant. I would expect to see Mystic Ascendant, I guess, possibly Rain Frogs, but that's more marginal. Maybe Recurring Nightmare, but are there actually Desert Marshals on the side of IlyaK? If there's not, then Recurring Nightmare is pretty good.
Yeah, I don't know about bringing in Nightmare against Combray when they've got like Desert Marshals and potentially Desert Marshal, potentially Sandstorm Titan, all those sorts of things. It doesn't seem like you need that as your win con in this matchup.
Oh yeah, I like Desert Marshal. So
probably have better options.
I agree. You likely don't need it.
Generally, Black Sky Harbinger is not that great in this matchup. Like we saw it be okay there, but it's not like the sweeper effect is super relevant against like a big Combray list. It's not really ever cleaning up anything. You could still keep in 1 just for the Rise to the Challenge package, but I'd be a little surprised if you keep in the 3.
I like access to the combo, so I want at least one of both, like the Withering Witch and the Harbinger, but I agree, I don't want a huge number of Harbingers in this matchup.
Same thing with like Torch, that's kind of low impact, Lightning Storm, kind of low impact. I imagine Lightning Storm's already out. You just want to have just maximize your haymakers, right? Bring in the extra Scorpion Wasp, Mystic Ascendant, maybe a Rain of Frogs somewhere, and just kind of just throw haymakers at them.
And on IlyaK's side, we have 2 Flame Blasts to protect, 3 Ruin, a Vanquish, 2 Combray Healer, 2 Scorpion Wasp, 2 Stand Together, and 1 Starsteel Dice Show. I'd certainly expect the Stand Togethers for a deck that has Harsh Rule on the other side. Mm-hmm. And outside of that, you could maybe bring in Dice Show, but Dice Show is not great in a deck that can't pump it, so I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, Dice Show, you have the Rise Dice Show at least, and you've got some Icarias, but at the same time, your opponent's playing some rather large units, so it's a little questionable. It does attack on an angle that's a little hard for your opponent's removal suite to hit. So I could see that coming in, but yeah, the Stand Together is a no-brainer. The extra Vanquish seems pretty good here. Flame Blast just for extra reach, and I don't even know what you're taking out really. Again, the torches just seem low impact on both sides, so I wouldn't be shocked if some number of those came out.
Yeah, you generally want to take out Torch in any matchup where it's going to mostly be just 3 damage to face, because that's not a good card, especially in a deck that doesn't have other burn spells. So yeah, I'd agree there. Outside of that, like it's generally hard to sideboard these just mid-range good card decks because all of your cards are just generally good. Like everything's kind of all right, and you have to decide what is better than all right.
Yeah, and anytime you're in a matchup where both decks are playing for Harsh Rule, it gets a little confusing how to sideboard. It's like, wait, who's the beatdown here, right? Yeah. Who wants to be the beatdown? I guess I have more Seraphs. All right, I'm the beatdown deck. Sure, let's go with that. And, it just it really just is all the context of what hands you end up with.
And here we'll move into game 2 with level 13 David up the game. And again, he has the mana to cast Find the Way and Find the Way, so I'm sure David's happy.
We've got Find the Way on both sides. Both players will find whatever they're looking for.
Yep, we'll have a fair amount of tire spinning going on for the first couple turns of this game. Both players just developing their mana. Much more important for David than IlyaK, but also important for IlyaK.
It's pretty important for both players. They both want lots of power. David's got, looks like, all the factions covered now. Has both Rise and Twinning already. No unit in hand yet, but whatever unit he ends up getting, he can get a second one up. So it should be fun to see.
With the Twinning in hand, I would expect to get Nyctotraxian off the Rise of the Challenge, because then you can twin it, get another card. Maybe you actually get stuff that you can play on turn 5 or whatever.
Right.
So I would certainly at least like to see Nyctotraxian, whether that's the right play. I'd like to see Nyctotraxian as much as possible.
So both players just building up resources, and then eventually the sparks will fly at some point. And yeah, so David's going to either double up on Nyctotraxians or double up on Mystic Ascendants would be my guess. I don't think you have many other options here the way this game's going. be like, what gives me the most card advantage? Like, I think you're more focused on card advantage than.
Yeah. I think the answer to that is probably actually Mystic Ascendant, but Nyx Atraxian sweeter, so I would get Nyx Atraxian. But
you can
I
see,
think,
yeah, you can see the same thought process here for David as it was for us. Oh,
Mark of Shame.
And appropriately gets a mark of shame for his decision.
That is like the most flavorful Nyx Atraxian trigger ever.
He's like,
although
I should get Mystic Ascendant, but come on.
It's probably gonna check this Valkyrie though, so it's like not the worst thing in the world.
Yeah. All right. So now you twin the Nyctotraxium first to see if you, I guess, want to hold up Scorpion Wasp or play a depleted power.
Let's see what you get.
Yeah. 11-9 Nycto. Oh, hey, that makes your Nyctos immune to damage and have endurance. They still die to harsh rule, but the other parts are pretty good.
Yeah, it's always fun with the Nyctotraxian decks. Every game is different. You always have different tools. It's always a fun experience. So now we have the Roland game.
I suppose Mark of Shame is a tool in some sense.
Yeah. I mean, I'm telling you, man, it's gonna tag this Valkyrie or bait like the stand together on the Valkyrie. This Mark of Shame's gonna be somebody.
Or you can only use Mark of Shame on your opponent's units, right? You can't use it on your own to take them out of Vanquish range and next level somebody, because that'd be the best.
I'm actually not sure. I have not played much Mark of Shame.
Pretty sure you can only play curses on opponent's units. Like, you can't ever permafrost your own unit or anything like that.
So we'll see the Vanquish tag this Iron Thorn here, and David's just gonna sit back. And,
it means he doesn't have Vanquish for an Ascendant. Like, he has no clean answer to Ascendant.
Yeah, it's definitely weird. I think maybe you would want to use Wasp there, but then the Mystic still would have been in play for this turn, and this
right. It would have drawn
2 cards.
Yeah, it's a tough spot either way.
And we'll see if David decides to get proactive this turn or just keep sitting on Wasps. He definitely has a lot of things to do. Verlant, Nyctotraxian. See him throw out the first Nyctotraxian, see what kind of answer it gets out. And we do see the 2 Vanquish in IlyaK's hand. So IlyaK's actually reasonably well set up to deal with all of these giant idiots in David's hand.
Yeah, I would say IlyaK is in an advantage position at the moment. It's got a bunch of Ascendants going, and David has no way to deal with this board other than to keep playing units that die to Vanquish. And now IlyaK recognizing that, it's like, oh, I'm just going to hold up stand together the rest of this game, and I don't think I can lose.
Fortunately for David, he does have his removal spells right now are Scorpion Wasp, which do get around the stand together, although he's still under a great deal of pressure. Like, maybe his turn is Seraph, leave up both Wasps. That allows him to like kind of start clawing back and getting initiative. Any of the Relant to the Nyctotraxian, that's the only thing he can do this turn. And then if his opponent has another Vanquish, it's kind of a blowout.
Yeah, these Wasps are lining up awkwardly with the threats he's trying to present. And yeah, recognizing that, it looks like he's just going to go with Seraph, and maybe not. I mean, Harbinger at least gains a little bit of life, but it's essentially the same body as Seraph, so that's not very useful. I'm
a big fan of the triple spell turn.
You could even Seraph Mark of Shame the Sandstorm Titan, so at least it bounces off of Seraph. Like, that's something.
That is true. And then you Wasp the Mystic Ascendant if that comes in. That's another way to do it. You save the second Wasp that way.
It's like, how much better is Mark of Shame really getting in this matchup? Like, yeah, I can take out a Valkyrie Enforcer, but other than that, it's like, you can use it on Seraph. That doesn't matter. It's going to keep getting activated. You can use it on any of these other huge units. That's not doing anything. So I think just to preserve life, I would have used the Mark there.
And that's actually one of the more interesting things about the Nyctotraxian deck, because you frequently get these like underpowered or situational cards, and getting value out of those and figure out how to leverage them in the most productive way is often how you find success with the Nyctotraxian deck.
I mean, here you're using a Wasp on a Titan anyways, so I guess that's the reasoning for not using Mark there. But yeah,
it's Mark of Shame is going to find a very hard time gaining value in this game.
I kind of like the idea of at least marking the Titan and maybe eventually forcing them to have to swing with these Ascendants so the Scorpion Wasp can get them. Now this is just so awkward.
Yeah, he can't even ultimate Seraph and leave open Wasp, so he's in a really awkward spot this turn. It looks like he might Relant Seek Power. It's just, he's really on only one spell this turn, which is super awkward because he needs to start doing multiple spells to claw back into this game and try and overcome these Mystic Ascendants.
Harbinger is the only flyer here, so that's something. You could have played that and continue to hold up Wasp, but yeah, he opts to just slam down the Roland, and is probably, you know, best case scenario, it ends up being a vanilla 6/6 and gets silenced. Worst case scenario, your opponent does get to vank it, but then maybe your Nyctotraxian does something. Who knows?
Yeah, but we're even at the stage of the game where this Nyctotraxian is not like the biggest creature in play. Like these Ascendants are just continually growing, and the first one is definitely going to be bigger, and like the second one will not quite be there, but
Ilya's just drawing 2 cards a turn and gets a hold up stand. This is just not a winnable board position for David. It's just, I don't see how he can get out of this anymore.
Yeah, we can't even Wasp this turn because he had to tap out. It's a really bad spot. Because the normal way he would be able to like play around stand together is by having large creatures or even Scorpion Wasps that don't care about that. But IlyaK's had the removal for all the big creatures and been able to play around Scorpion Wasp. So David's just in the clamps.
Yeah. Basically, this goes back to he chose to get Nyktos instead of Ascendants, and instead of drawing random good cards out of his deck, he drew Mark of Shame and roll it. And that ended up being not so great.
I mean, but if you're playing this deck, you got to just get Nyctotraxian. Like, if you're not getting Nyctotraxian, what's the point?
Oh, yeah, I 100% agree with his line. It's just, he is also just dead. I mean, even if he got the Mystic Ascendants, I don't know if he's winning this game. Ilya had the double vanquish.
Yeah, IlyaK's interaction lined up exceptionally well against David's. And then all 4 vanquishes have been drawn. There's a Jack, Vicaria, there's all kinds of lethal.
Once he's drawn, he has a 14/14 and a 10/10 Mystic Ascendant. You know something's gone horribly right for you.
Yeah, still had all these. Yeah. When you have Mystic Ascendants in play for that long, it's going to be a trouncing.
Yeah.
So we'll see if David decides to sideboard differently going into game 3 or just runs it back, decides he has a good play and it just didn't pan out.
We see some torches still lurking there. I don't know if he'll decide to trim those down for something slightly of higher impact.
Yeah, sideboard doesn't have a lot. Like, I think actually Rain of Frogs is fine. I don't still like it more than Torch, but keeps the torches, and we'll move into the deciding game 3 and see what both players' openers look like.
So we knew they brought in David at least brought in Permafrost.
There's the Torch. That's
that's not looking so hot here.
Definitely not liking the look of that card. And this hand is just a whole bunch of nothing. I mean, he'll have his mana. He'll get to cast whatever he wants, but he needs things to cast.
On the other end, Ilya has some very expensive Icarias in hand, but also just has a Seraph and a Stand Together, and that could just be enough to get there depending on how David's hand develops.
Yeah, IlyaK's hand is super duper slow, so maybe like that causes some problems. But if he's able to get to a point where he can actually deploy all these things, get Seraph and play, Stand Together up, and that sail off the top kind of fixes everything. So now IlyaK's in a much better spot.
Yeah, now instead of being behind a turn like every turn from here on out, Ilya's going to just curve out real nicely here between his Seraph and Stand Together Parliament, find the way. But still, David's got time. Opts to use Find the Way there rather than twinning, maybe just waiting to see if he ends up getting a better target than this Ascendant or something like that.
And David does functionally have 2 Mystic Ascendants. He could have a second one if he wants it. He probably will want it. And right now, we see IlyaK doesn't have any of his vanquishes. So if that holds, maybe David, with being on the play, will be able to play his Mystics first, get value from them, snowball the same way like did last game, and find success in that area.
It's pretty clear that David's going to have time to get these Ascendants rolling now at this point, especially with that Scorpion Wasp draw. So he pulls the trigger on the twinning on the Ascendant, and Ilya now deciding, all right, he's going to wait on this Seraph now and maybe try and play a longer game as well. And David picks up a Vanquish as well. So all right, he's got answers and he's got threats. That's kind of what you want in this game.
Yeah. And IlyaK's hand is like very proactive. Even if he can't deal with the Mystic Ascendants, maybe he can fly over with the Icarias. We do see one of the Scorpion Wasps, so maybe it gets used earlier.
But
there is the Raid of Frogs. That is actually very good against this hand.
Yeah, Ilya might have Stand Together, but he doesn't have Protect. So that's definitely better than playing a Mystic Ascendant that does nothing. So David sees he could hit 2 Icarias here, or a Mystic Ascendant. There's also the arrow that you might want to click on. There you go. And he sees the Stand Together and Parliament. So Stand Together can be a frustrating thing to deal with, but when his opponent's threats are this expensive, you might be able to play around it. And you have the Torch and other things.
I think we might end up seeing some Rebellious Frogs just because the 2-for-1 is so powerful. Even though you have 1 answer to Icaria, you don't have 2, and if one of them's able to fly over, keep accruing value, doing damage, that's highly problematic. And
he takes the Icarias. I think that's rather wise, and also knows that basically the coast is clear for these Ascendants. He saw 0 answers to them.
Yep, and IlyaK didn't rip one that turn. Of course, David doesn't know that, but he can.
Ilya finally gets to play a Seraph and hold up Stand Together. Yes, your opponent knows about Stand Together, but it's still a real pain to play around.
And these frogs, like, the frog's going to be 2/2s, like, maybe that matters.
But
hanging
at the same time, David's just going to play around it by playing the biggest unit.
Yeah.
And draw some more cards. And then Find a Ways will then draw even more.
Although if he doesn't draw another power, it's awkward next turn because he can't play the other Mystic Ascendant and Find the Way and play a power. So, and IlyaK does draw the Desert Marshal, so the Desert Marshal will stop the value, although it still leaves a 7/7 in play.
Yeah, Ilya takes the shields down, figures he'd rather cantrip here, and he can always just reload with another Seraph or Parliament with Stand Together up instead. And I think that's a good line.
Now, this is actually interesting on the side of David. Knowing he has a Stand Together, do you Black Sky and then torch the Seraph, leaving the Mystic Ascendant play, or just pull the trigger on the Mystic Ascendant with the Vanquish?
Yeah, this is a tough one. It looks like he's just opting to draw a card and then decide what he wants to do.
Yeah, this means that the Mystic Ascendant's getting vanquished because he no longer has mana for the previous play.
I think you're not really worried about the Seraph at all at this point, because if it's activating, then you just get to deal with whatever shows up anyway.
Yeah, I mean, if he gets like some of the like top 5-10% hits, it's going to be a problem for you. But on average, I think you can afford to let the Seraph go off a couple times.
Yeah,
and you can still kill it next turn with the Harbinger if he taps low enough. If like taps low enough.
Basically, this lets him get some of these clunky Find the Ways out of hand now, which is nice when you have 2 Ascendants going anyways. And yeah, he opts to swing. It's 9 damage. These frogs could get cleaned up at some point because of Harbinger, but at the same time, your opponent has Stand Together and probably is leaving it up for the rest of the game, so getting them to chump's not a terrible deal either. He opts to hold back.
Yeah, we do see, instead of the Seraph activation, we see elect for Desert Marshal plus leave up Stand Together. You can also possibly Sandstorm Titan after this resolves, but I think taking out Stand Together is rough.
Yeah, Ilya is just going to leave up Stand Together.
Oh, and he gets to play the second Seraph as well if he wants to do that. But he just passes turn.
Like, I don't think we're seeing a Seraph activation until Ilya's on 11 power. All right,
there's the harsh roll.
But you know about Stand Together. So you can either double up on Ascendants here and keep rolling with that. You could play Harbinger just to kind of clean up all these X1s and maybe tempt them into casting Stand here.
Yeah, Harsh or Black Sky Harbinger is decent bait for the Stand Together. Like, IlyaK could pretty reasonably pull the trigger on it. It saves.
Yeah, I think in the long run, all these X1s aren't important. So
I'd agree too.
But at the same time, holding the Stand Together is a real tax for IlyaK, and he realizes that and decides to use it here. Yeah, that ended up being, it does preserve his board, but this whole board that IlyaK has, David doesn't really care, right? He still has the largest unit.
Yeah, now David gets to like cycle this Find the Way, and now he has this harsh roll to just, if the board ever gets out of control with these Parliaments or whatever, or Seraph activations, he has the harsh roll. He has a safety valve now because of the Black.
He doesn't draw cards off this sigil, so he opts to not play them.
Yeah, I like that.
I kind of disagree, just because if you're planning on playing Ascendant next turn, you may still want to be able to hold up Scorpion Wasp or something, and now you're not actually guaranteed that. Although now you can just 20 Ritual another Mystic Ascendant and keep drawing cards, and who the hell cares?
Yep, never punished. Although this is like, it's me. No, you don't definitely have a harsh roll here. You still have like giant blockers. So I would definitely expect to just see
I think you
some
swing with
amount
the
of
Ascendant.
attacks.
Yeah, you swing with the Ascendant. If they try to gang block exchange, you have the Torch. So like you can actually get value out of Torch in this matchup, which is huge. Yeah, that Seraph kind of whiffed. Might keep whiffing, but
yeah, if this Torch ever gets to be anything other than demolish this game, it'll be excellent.
And yeah, IlyaK going for the block where he doesn't get blown out by.
Yeah, this poor Black Sky Harbinger only gets to kill one of these things.
Yeah, I'm not
This
sure if
Mystic
I'm
Ascendant's coming down afterwards.
Yeah, I'm not super in love with swinging with a Harbinger there, just because it is a unit that can block everything on the board and doesn't die to Vanquish. So it was like still kind of valuable that way, rather than just like trading with a 4/2.
Yeah, like all these little creatures are like low impact, but they matter. Like they're not nothing. So like they actually get to like start chipping back now potentially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because the thought process is you have Mystic Ascendant here to sit back and still be able to block, but now they could get in a decent swing if they just rip a Vanquish on the top that you didn't have to have.
I think we've determined what the most important card in this matchup after seeing 2 games.
Vanquish is a good card. Wow, now that's a hit off Seraph. Woo!
That is very good.
Jex does a version of Desert Marshal, but maybe slightly bigger, to say the least.
Yeah, and that was the danger of leaving the Seraph in play. Although, granted, it was the choice between that and Mystic Ascendant, but if Seraph hits the higher impact card, like Seraph's gonna do work.
Yeah, but I think it was correct to hold on to a harsh while you only had one. Now that you have 2, yeah, I think you got to pull the trigger on this. You still have 1 Ascendant left in the tank. Did Cass find the way there? I guess he wants to hold up Scorpion Wasp in case IlyaK has the Ikaria, but he can't have Ikaria because you frogged it. So
that is correct. I think
I think you probably should have cast Find the Way there, and he probably just forgot that those frogs were Ikaria. Yeah, sometimes you forget. You keep playing around a card that they can't actually draw anymore.
Yeah, it's muscle memory. It's just like, oh, I see Ikaria, man, on the other side, I'll play around Ikaria.
Yep. He doesn't actually have to play around Ikaria.
So it's interesting to see because if he plays this Mystic Ascendant, it makes this harsh roll much worse. So I wouldn't be surprised to see just like pass, leave up Wasp, or even like pulling the trigger on this harsh roll. I think this is a bit premature, but I don't hate it.
I think I would rather use 2 Wasps than a harsh roll there. I think
I'm inclined to agree.
More valuable. Like this reactive removal is a real problem. You've already seen 1 stand together. I think IlyaK only has 2 in the entire list. Only 2. So like the odds of seeing another stand together are pretty low. So I think your harsh roll is pretty reliable going forward. But
yeah, harsh roll is like one of the more important cards in the matchup. It can really swing things back. I think you can even like Wasp one of the flyers, only be taking 4. IlyaK's probably compelled at that point to extend further. Then your harsh roll gets better. So
yeah. Because now you're sitting on all these Wasps, but they're not helping you when a Seraph is just going to be, deploying units every turn. The Wasp is never going to answer this Seraph.
Yeah, and we see the awkward Torch and Vanquish, but neither of which able to deal with Seraph.
Yeah, it's like you can Vanquish a Sandstorm Titan, but again, I'd rather use a Scorpion Wasp and save Vanquish for Mystic Ascendants or something that could show up.
Yeah, when you have all of this like semi-awkward situation for removal, leveraging it on the right threats is really important. And we might see a situation where the Seraph just runs over the game because David decided to use his harsh rule instead of his Wasps.
And that is another pretty awesome hit, but can get intercepted by a Wasp. But if you're IlyaK, I think you just have to, you got it for free, right?
Yeah.
Just throw it out
on
there
the house.
Get these Wasps out of the way. David's on 10 power. He's going to get to hold up Wasps the rest of the game.
Probably see this Raid of Frogs, it's not getting better, but it does. Oh no, he gets still play the next Traxian, so.
Yeah, I guess hitting Wasp or Enforcer is fine here. I mean, IlyaK's basically on the I'm activating Seraph until you deal with this plan, so these aren't really the cards you want to hit. But it's something. At some point, Wasp could answer your Nyktos or something.
Yeah, Nykto is decent here, but again, like I think this Seraph is just going to like run roughshod over the game. If it just keeps hitting like reasonable, like top half outcomes, it's going to be more powerful than an 8/8.
And this kind of harkens back to how we were talking about man, Torch kind of just blows in this matchup.
Yeah, it's gonna sit there and do nothing. It's gonna be one man and demolish. That's it. That's its life.
Yeah, it just it's been sitting here in his hand the whole game, and it's hasn't done a thing yet, and it continues to not really look all that appealing. It might eventually kill this Valkyrie Enforcer. Okay.
Yeah,
You
sure.
know, it's not going to save any units from Scorpion Wasp anymore because you got rid of those.
Oh, choosing a
Another
unit for
summon
what?
effect.
For that guy.
Silverwing. All right. Well, it's a 4/4 flyer at least, and it makes one of these smaller. 4/6, sure. And we've got ourselves a stalemate until Sierra finds a way to break it, or David finds a way to break it. And,
I mean, the odds are just in IlyaK's favor. Like, the longer Seraph's in play, the more likely it is to hit, like, an Ikaria or something.
Now that the Titan's down and he took the Wasp and has an 8/8 flyer, this Torch now represents lethal.
Yeah.
So Ilya recognizes that and throws the flyer in front, knows that next turn you can use Enforcer to ground that dragon.
So yeah, IlyaK's actually like on chump block duty on this 8/8 until he finds something from Seraph that can contend with it.
Yeah, it turns out an 8/8 flyer is big.
Yep. That's my experience with the Traxian, is that a big multicolored dude is just
8/8 flyers.
Yeah, so that being able to trade is just super good.
Yeah,
It'll take a lot of the pressure off IlyaK and let the Seraph keep doing its thing.
For those that aren't familiar with every card in the game, that was a Flight Lieutenant, which is an 8/8. That's normally a 4/4 for 7. That has an empower trigger that when you play a power, all of your units get flying. So that is a built-in board stall breaker.
Yep. And actually, we see David drew a Seraph, so he's going to have Seraph parity moving forward.
Yeah, he may opt to just take this trade, though. I don't know if you're Ilya. Okay.
I think you see what you get off Seraph first.
Sure. Yeah, and then you still get the hold up Torch anyway. It's like you're giving yourself information off your opponent. Cerso.
That's
right.
Good in combat.
That is a 12/12 Cerso. So we've got some big hits on both sides. We've seen a Jack and a Cerso come down now. And David's like, you know what? I'm okay with waiting on this thing next turn. All right. So we've got Seraph Lottery. Also hits a legend, but also
the Cerso's
12/12 overall.
Yeah, the Cerso is just lethal through a lot. Like, this Cerso demands 3 blockers, and they have a torch, and there's still like several other large creatures in play.
Yeah, right now Ilya can't actually trade with this Cerso. It's just not possible. If you're David, I wouldn't cast Torch here. I would just wait. Your units have Overwhelm anyways, or your important ones do.
Well, it sets up lethal, right? I mean, like, you can. It doesn't really matter how you use this torch. The torch is going to be lethal, but the Cerso needs to be blocked by at least 2 things to not be lethal by itself. And then the Mystic Ascendant. Actually, it's not because you can block with the 2/1 and the 8/8, and then go to 1, and then no, he's still dead. Yeah, he's actually just dead.
Yeah, his opponent's pretty dead if he has nothing. He'd have to have exactly Desert Marshal, I guess, to live here. Opting to activate Seraph instead of swing with it.
That makes it not lethal.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a highly profitable attack. Like,
yes, you have a Cerso, your opponent doesn't have a Desert Marshal, so you're still kind of messing up this. But now that you're not swinging for lethal, I don't know why you would chump attack with Nito here. You would just this is why it's kind of opting to just hold the torch in hand still. I mean, maybe Ilya has to respect a second torch or something like that.
And actually, I think
because 2 4s go in front of it. Sure, yeah, you actually still should just 2/2. Shouldn't you? If you're swinging with Nikto there, you should also swing with the Mystic Ascendant, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. Oh well. Ilya lives another day. Does not go off with Talir. Maybe goes off with Seraph. Nope, that's gonna do it here. It looks like. Jeez, what a game!
Yeah, it was still lethal after tapping the Seraph, but we saw no attack from the 4/6. Cerso math is sometimes complicated, but
it's not every day you swing with a 12/12 Overwhelm that transforms blockers into pigs. Yeah, wow, what a match that was.
Yeah,
my brain hurts.
It looked like IlyaK was in a reasonable spot for a lot of that game, and then we saw the opposing Seraph just hit one of the best cards it can get, and Sorso's not super beatable, so he gets to steal the game.
Yeah, well played on both sides though, for sure.
Definitely.
David had IlyaK did a good job of holding up that stand together, opted to finally lower the shields and use it to save some X1s from a Black Sky Harbinger, and that kind of ended up unlocking David's harsh rules to really start doing some work. But
yeah, that was probably the turning point in the game.
Yeah, but I'd like to go back to how we talked about, he opted to use harsh rule on a Parliament instead of double Scorpion Wasp. And if you notice, at the end of that game, David still had 2 Scorpion Wasps in hand. They just literally never did anything. So
yeah, lining up your removal in situations like that where you have like weird situational cards, like they only hit certain things, Wasp only hit certain things, Torch, all that stuff. When you don't line those up correctly, you find yourself in a spot like David did, where you just have these Wasps in hand and they just don't do anything.
Yeah, but well played by both players, and congrats for David for taking that match. That was great.
Yep, definitely. And that was the last match of the round. So we will be taking a short break. The next round will be up pretty shortly, I would assume. So for Sir Rhino, I am Truedawn, and we will see you shortly for round 4.